Welcome back, everyone. I'm Maureen Mullane. You know, we have a new county executive, Chris Collins, and he's talked a lot about Lean and Six Sigma and used these terms to talk about impacting our county. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what these terms mean today and what that can mean for you and your organization also. Next to me is Walt Presti. Next to Walt is Judd Prozeller. And next to Judd is Jeff Mucha. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
First of all, just if you could give us a quick understanding, Walt, what exactly is Lean? We hear that term. What does that mean?
Well, Maureen, Lean is not really a new concept. Lean had its roots with Henry Ford back in the turn of the 1900s. And it basically was the inspiration for making America the power that it was up to World War II. And it really focused on mass production. Then the concepts of Henry Ford were taught to the Japanese by Edward Deming.
Yes, he's well known.
And Edward Deming was a very big influence in how the Japanese manufacture today. And the Japanese put their own spin, utilizing techniques that were developed by the founders of Toyota. And today, that new repackaged process is here in America, and what it basically is a focus on the reduction of waste, all types of waste at all levels of industry. It's given the title of lean manufacturing, but it actually applies to any aspect of business, and it focuses on reducing the waste in any company.
And from what I understand, I'm going to throw this question to Judd. It can be not just manufacturing. Other businesses also can benefit from Lean or Six Sigma?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, I think in the last 10 years, service organizations have really been gathering momentum with both of these strategies.
Well, talk a little bit about Six Sigma for me, because that's another term we're hearing a lot of. What does that mean?
Six Sigma is basically providing employees in an organization the tools and techniques so that they can focus on business process improvement. So it's really a reduction of variation within business processes, thereby improving the quality of the outputs.
You mentioned variation, and looking at your credentials, heavy on statistics, and you yourself have been involved with Excelsior Award and have been recognized, and the clients that you work with are very impressive. Give me an example of one of the clients that you've done some magic with.
Well, I can give you a lot. I have been in 108 companies around. Currently, I usually go about 40 companies a year on the average.
Wow.
In Buffalo, PDI, Tonawanda Engine Plant, in Rochester, Eastman Kodak, Xerox, Bausch & Lomb.
Wow, big, well-known, recognized names.
And an awful lot of small companies as well.
And what would be an example? What would you say that you could say, this is how they were before and how they are now?
Well, a current example is an office supplies company that I'm working with, and they had a quality problem. They pick orders, deliver office supplies to companies, and they were averaging 18 to 20 mispicks a month. So,
wow, so I'm a customer and I order something, but when it comes to me, 18 or 20 out of the 100 times would be wrong?
Right, it's either,
wow.
It's either the wrong number that was ordered or the wrong product altogether, or you missed the order. You didn't pick it at all.
So talk about customer service, and I know that's where you come in effect. What do customers think about something like that? Is that acceptable number?
Absolutely not. I mean, this industry today, zero defects are expected. You know, they give statistics in different industries. Imagine if you wind up in an emergency room. How many errors are you allowed in the emergency room? You're getting your allergy injection shots. How many errors are there permitted in that capacity?
That's a great example.
It's zero defects.
Zero defects. So what are you doing with this company to get them from 18 to 20 mispicks to much more acceptable number?
Well, what we did, the senior management team chartered a team, and we went in and did training with that team. We taught them some of the basic tools and techniques of Six Sigma, and that team went through a problem-solving methodology. It's the DMAIC process: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. So we defined the problem, we went out and gathered some data, and the team came up with a solution. And that solution has actually been implemented, and we have saved the company $90,000 over a 2-year period, plus cut the defects by 2/3. So
$90,000 saving over 2 years, cut the defects, and what you can't always measure, and that is customer service. The people that were now pleased were before they left and they went someplace else.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah. And the thing that can't be missed too, Maureen, is the fact that you have folks that are equipped now differently than they were before. These are folks that can come home that were maybe they thought they were doing a mundane task. Now they understand the process, they understand their impact in the process, they know how to attack that process, and they can come home. Table talk is a little bit different.
Where they didn't want to talk about they're doing this rivet. Now they're part of a team that is making a difference.
Exactly. They maybe think they're doing a simple mundane task, but now they understand and they have input and they get involved. They're doing problem solving using a structured methodology, and it's a part of a cultural change.
What I noticed you said, Judd, was you talked about how the team internally came up with the solutions.
Absolutely.
So you're facilitating it, but they're the ones that own it.
Yes, and I think it was really a surprise to senior management that this team could come up with that much of an improvement in a short period of time.
Wow, really impressive. Well, I know you've got stories to tell too. Let's hear some from you, Walt.
Well, we do the same approach. We get the teams involved in solving the problems and identifying, and we recognize that most people doing a job know where the problems lie, and there's just a complacency that develops in business. One of the things we did is we took a company that took 2 hours to do a setup, a changeover. We got it down to 6 minutes.
2 hours to like move something?
2 hours to go from one product to another product.
Okay, change up like on a line.
Actually, it was a press.
Okay, all right.
And we had the teams work, create systems in place, put them in place, and work as a team to do the setup, and they brought it down to 6 minutes.
From 2 hours change over to 6 minutes. That's like race cars when they're changing the tires or something.
That's a good analogy.
It's a very simple process because we use the pit crew concept.
Okay, there you go.
And the teams develop the strategies, the teams develop the procedures, and the teams develop the tools that are needed.
Wow. And folks, I did not know ahead of time about the pit crew. It's just what I thought of automatically. That is impressive.
It's a great analogy.
So what did the employees think when they saw the change?
They love it. When the employees see that their ideas and their suggestions are being implemented by management, they really get more excited, more motivated about the company.
Yeah, amazing. So. Well, change is a big part of this. You've got to change people's perceptions and attitudes, and change is something you teach. Talk a little bit about that, Jeff.
Absolutely. I mean, we're after the heart of the company. We're after their culture. We're after changing the way people think. Come to the job, and we want to give them the framework to think, the lean framework, the Six Sigma framework. We want to equip soldiers to go to war with the right tools, basically.
But is this something, if I'm someone, or I've got employees, and I've never really had this kind of formal education, statistics, you all have got this high level education, it's kind of scary.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
Is that something that can be taught with someone that hasn't had the skills before given to them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, the math involvement, do you want to speak to that, Judd?
Sure. Most of the tools and techniques that we teach are fine for people with just a high school education. So
really?
with some of the black belt training that we do, you can get into more sophisticated statistics, but most of the training is simple problem solving, use of fishbone analysis, Pareto, other tools and techniques for gathering and analyzing data.
Yeah.
So your approach really is, we know there's a problem, we're going to figure out what it is, the team resolves the issue, and the impact is dollars, it's turnaround time, it's saving quality issues.
Sure, sure.
So a significant improvement in customer satisfaction.
And customer satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Employee satisfaction, reducing turnover, investment of the company and their people. It's a whole different, again, back to the cultural component.
Well, I know you've teamed up with Canisius College in the spring. In March, I think you're going to be doing some programs. Can you talk a little bit about the programs that you're going to be doing?
Sure. No, we're very excited. In March, I think it's March 31st, Judd. We're kicking off with a cultural change model, which we think is fantastic. It's a key component of any success of any implementation, large-scale implementation. Judd's going to be leading that March 31st. It's just a one-day. Walt's going to go last, but another gentleman, Bob Meisel, who's part of the team, is going to be performing, I think it's 6 weeks. He's going to do 4 days, 3 days, 3 days to deliver a Greenbelt training program.
So as a result of these training programs, how will people be different, Judd? If they go through this one-day program on leading cultural change?
Well, the cultural change, that's a good example of what we do that might be a little bit different. A lot of companies try and create change by training. And training is an important component of any change process, but training by itself may not create lasting change. So what we do is we teach the importance of creating a change plan ahead of the training, so that we prepare the organization for the training that's going to be done, so that the training is effective ultimately in the long run.
Talk a little bit about culture. That's another term you hear a lot about. People, different companies have different cultures. How does culture play an impact into change?
Well, you have companies have to recognize that embarking on this type of approach really requires a cultural change in the organization. Culture we define as the beliefs, attitudes, and values that impact how people behave in an organization. And to really create a cultural change, it creates, you need to have a plan. So you need to look at what's management's role in that change process, what's the communications process going to be to support that change, what's the recognition reward strategy going to be to reinforce that change, what are they going to measure that's different than the way they typically measure things, and what are the standard practices that are going to be part of that change process.
A lot to think about. So that'll be part of the programs you're doing
Absolutely,
with Canisius.
yes.
Well, you had used the word complacency earlier.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that and how that's important.
Well, companies get into basically a rut of running their company. They go in day to day and they tolerate an awful lot of the annoyances and the wasted activities that take place. And oftentimes, if the bottom line is still a okay bottom line, they ignore them. They just say this is acceptable.
We're doing okay.
And consequently, the competition sneaks up on you when you let that happen. So the strategy also with Lean is that you become there's a term called Kaizen in the term. Kaizen is a process where you implement small changes on a day-to-day basis. And it's important that people look at their workplace and say, what did I do different today than I did yesterday? And it's a constant process. And part of what the judge is talking about is changing the mentality and changing the culture to accept and perform day-to-day changes.
And it's interesting for the employees, too, because then they're not just a body doing something, that's their brain is engaged. And they're really making a difference from what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You have another example of a company
Oh,
that
I have
changed?
another example, a very just recent example. One of our clients took on 30% more of the work they were capable of doing as they perceived. And they were able to push this work out without adding overtime.
So basically had the same employees.
Same employees, same workspace.
Same workspace.
Same machines, and they were very nervous, but they had been involved with Lean for about 9 months now. And they were able to push, well, they went from $650,000 to $1 million in 1 month.
Wow. Wow.
Without missing a beat.
Wow. Just the way they approach things.
Absolutely.
Same people.
They used all the techniques of Lean. They empowered the people. They implemented the systems that were created by the operators on the machines. They put the tools that were needed right at the machine locations. They coordinated everything. They put a process where people knew exactly how to do the job the same way each time, and it was phenomenal. It's a great story.
Well, opportunities for training, I just want to mention that Canisius College is going to be in March. I think there's going to be a phone number on the screen. Certainly call Canisius College Center for Professional Development if you're interested in learning a little bit more about Lean Six Sigma. That's the way our county is going. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your stories. Really inspirational that people, same companies, can make a big, big difference in their lives and in their customers' lives. I'm Maureen Mullane. Stay involved.